After 20 years of solitude, an unexpected knock revealed his daughter a heartwarming life-changer. Jack Harrison had built a life surrounded by cornfields and silence, where the only sounds were the whispering winds and the occasional creak of the old farmhouse settling into the earth. For 2 decades, he tilled the land with calloused hands and a heart heavy with regret. Every sunrise painted a new day, but each evening felt like a reminder of his lost love, as shadows of choices made danced at the corners of his rugged mind. The world outside had mostly forgotten him, and he preferred it that way, yet on one crisp autumn afternoon, when the vibrant colors of the leaves painted the horizon and the sweet scent of harvest lingered in the air, a sharp knock at his door shattered his routine. The sun hung low, glinting off golden stalks, but in that moment, Jack felt a wave of dread wash over him. Who could possibly want anything from him? He opened the door, and his breath caught in his throat. There stood a young woman with bright, familiar eyes that mirrored his own from decades past. "I'm Lily," she said, her voice steady despite the heaviness of the moment. "I'm your daughter." The words flooded over him like a rushing river, plunging him back into memories he had buried deep. A storm of emotions surged: regret, disbelief, shame, and anger. This young woman wasn't just a stranger, she was the ghost of a love he had lost, a bond torn apart by his own choices. Jack felt a tightness in his chest as he exchanged glances with Lily. This wasn't the reunion he had imagined, but the vulnerability in her gaze made him reel back. She had fought her own battles, struggles etched into her brow, and all he could think of were the years where he was absent from her life. He stood at the threshold of his home, the home he had built so securely around his isolation, now shaken by this revelation. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. Hesitantly, he stepped aside. Inside, the creaks of the wooden floor seemed to amplify the weight of their shared silence. They moved cautiously through the cramped kitchen, a place where long shadows of regret fell over every counter, but as they began to talk, the air eventually lightened with shared laughter and kitchen aromas. As Lily opened up about her life, filled with heartbreak and resilience, Jack found himself yearning to reach out, to reclaim what had been lost. They explored the farmer's market in town together, where familiar faces flicked curious glances at Jack, the war veteran they never understood. But through the murmurs and judgment, Lily's spirit shone brightly, reminding him that hope could flourish even in the most barren soil. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But just as the warmth of their connection began to thaw the chill of the past, Lily revealed something that made Jack's heart drop. A secret about her own journey, a whisper of truth that left him questioning everything he thought he knew about both her and himself. In that moment, they were left standing on a precipice, two souls edged closer to understanding yet trapped in a landscape of old wounds. Jack's chance for redemption dangled like the golden leaves outside, fluttering on the wind. Would he finally embrace the father he could become? Or would the man he was keep him captive, forever yearning for what might have been? As they faced the growing darkness together, the air crackled with the tension of uncertainty. The afternoon sun dimmed as Jack and Lily stood in the kitchen, tension thick in the air. The moment hung between them, pulsing with unspoken truths. Jack's heart raced, fear and curiosity battling in his chest. "What do you mean, a secret?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily inhaled sharply, struggling with the weight of her next words. "I met my mother, last year. She's alive. And I found out I have a brother. He's just a few years younger than me." The revelation hit Jack like a freight train, leaving a void as loud as the silence that followed. He staggered back, collapsing into a chair, stunned. He had spent years living with guilt for leaving her behind, for abandoning that part of himself. But the reality of her mother being alive, raising another child, hit him in a place he thought had long since hardened. Lily remained standing, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. She stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. I wanted to find you. To understand you. Maybe even, heal some of the past. Why didn't you tell me sooner? The question slipped out, casual but edged with pain. I was scared, she admitted, her gaze faltering for a moment before she steadied herself. I didn't want to push you away. But I need to know how far this isolation goes. I need to know if you even want to be a part of this. Each word she spoke hit Jack like a hammer, driving home the fractured path their lives had taken. He wrestled with a mix of anger and despair. Hadn't she seen how far he had slipped into his own shadows? How could he step into the light now? I don't know how to be that man. His voice trembled. I don't know how to connect with you, with anyone. I built these walls for a reason. Lily sat down beside him, her presence radiating warmth. But maybe they don't have to stay up forever. We can take this slow. You don't have to change overnight. Just allow me in. Jack looked into her eyes, feeling a flicker of hope for the first time in years. Maybe this was the chance he had longed for, a way out of the darkness he had cocooned himself in. The thought of reconnecting with his daughter ignited something deep within him, but fear quickly snuffed it out. What about your mother? What about this brother? He asked, almost pleading. What if she doesn't want me in your life? I'll figure that out, Lily replied with fierce conviction. You're my father. I deserve to know you, and maybe you deserve to know me too. But as the words hung between them, an uneasy silence filled the room again. Jack's mind raced with a million questions, each one sitting heavy in his throat. He felt torn between wanting to embrace her and fearing the chaos it could unleash. He rubbed the back of his neck, a habit he developed over the years. I need time to process all this. This is too much, Lily. She nodded, understanding but not defeated. I can give you time. But don't shut me out again. I won't come this far just to lose you. Her determined spirit tugged at something deep within him. It was a line drawn not just in the sand but carved into stone, challenging him to cross it. Outside, the wind rustled through the golden corn, an echo of possibility. Jack felt his heart begin to race again, not just with fear but with something else, a soft, delicate whisper of hope. Could he change? Could he really let someone back in? And just as he opened his mouth to respond, a loud bang interrupted them. The front door jolted open. His neighbor, Tim, burst through, his face flushed and panic in his eyes. Jack! You need to come quick. It's about the crops. As Jack stood, a new urgency swelled within him, overlapping the bubbling emotions from moments before. Dread pooled in his stomach. What now? And more importantly, would this new crisis pull him away from the fragile connection he had just begun to forge with Lily? Lily watched, a mix of apprehension and determination flowing through her. You'll figure this out, right? You'll come back. Of course, Jack said, though uncertainty loomed. He shot her a resolute gaze before following Tim out, leaving Lily alone in the kitchen once more, a mixture of hope and worry reflected in her eyes, with challenges rising on the horizon and a promise still wavering in the air, the weight of the past intertwined with the presence of change. Would Jack rise to meet his reality, or would the pull of old habits drag him back into the shadows? Jack sprinted through the door, heart racing as adrenaline surged. Tim was already halfway to the fields, his anxious strides quickly eating up the distance. Jack followed, the warm air pressing against his skin, but all he could focus on was the growing dread in his gut. What happened? Jack asked, his voice strained, trying to keep pace with Tim. Freak storm coming in fast. Tim shouted over his shoulder, worry etched into his features. The corn isn't ready for that kind of rain. We could lose everything. They reached the fields, the sweet scent of earth and growing plants mixed with the impending storm. Dark clouds swirled ominously above, blocking the sunlight and casting a shadow over the crops. Jack's heart sank as he scanned the fields. The cornstalks stood tall, swaying slightly in the growing wind. "Get the tarps," Tim barked, glancing back at Jack. "We need to cover the ones that are ripe. Grab as many hands as you can." Jack nodded and rushed toward the barn, urgency flooding him. He grabbed a handful of tarps, throwing them over his shoulder as he ran back to the field. The panic of the moment squeezed his heart, yet a part of him remained tethered to the conversation with Lily, the weight of her words. The thought of losing everything he'd built around his life echoed unsettlingly with his fears. As he worked to cover the rows of corn, sweat trickled down his forehead. Every glance at the coming storm felt like a reminder. Storms were unpredictable, much like the new reality he was trying to face with Lily. The crops were vulnerable, his relationship with her felt the same way. Tim was already shouting orders, directing other neighbors who had rushed to help. Jack saw their faces grim and determined, each face reflecting the urgency of the moment. They all shared a history, a community woven together by years of toil and support, but now that bond felt fragile. In the chaos, Jack pulled a tarp tight over the last row of corn and took a moment to breathe. The distant rumble of thunder was a chilling reminder to focus. He tightened his jaw, shaking off the doubt that crept in as he thought of Lily, trapped in the house, waiting for him to return. "Hey!" Tim yelled, jolting Jack from his thoughts. "Get that other side. It's going to hit any minute now." With every step he took back towards the fields, Jack felt the world around him shift. The winds picked up, sending a shiver through him. He couldn't let this storm ruin everything. He wouldn't let it ruin his chance with Lily either. The thought pushed him forward, igniting a sense of determination within. As raindrops began to fall, splattering against the ground, Jack raced to finish. Teamwork became essential, laughter mixed into their frantic efforts, reminding him that they were all in it together. He looked around, searching for a familiar face, someone to ground him amidst the storm, but as he glanced away from the fields, a figure appeared in the distance, moving toward the chaos. His heart halted. It was Lily, a determined look on her face, hair whipping in the wind. "Why are you here?" He shouted over the gusts, shock and warmth mingling in his chest. "I came to help." She yelled back, a fierce glimmer in her eyes that mirrored his own hope. In that moment, the storm felt less threatening. With her there, standing at the brink of both their futures, he realized that maybe he wouldn't have to face this alone. As the rain began to pour, thunder crackling overhead, Jack rushed towards her, adrenaline surging anew. With the storm passing overhead and Lily by his side, could they weather this together? The sky darkened, but the hope of what lay beyond the clouds ignited a spark in Jack's heart. The real challenge loomed ahead, and he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was shifting. Was he ready to embrace this change, or would he let fear pull him under once more? The question lingered as they both faced the storm together, ready to fight for what mattered most. The wind howled as Jack reached Lily, the rain pouring down in sheets that drenched them instantly. They shared a fleeting glance, a moment where all the worries of the world melted away. Together, they were strong. "Here," Jack said, handing her a tarp. "Help me with this side." Lily gripped the fabric, her fingers steady even in the chaos. It was then he noticed the fierce determination in her eyes. Confronted by the storm, she was both a force of nature and a calming presence. It reminded him of the day they had first met, sharing laughter in the field, not a care in the world. With every gust of wind, Jack's heartbeat matched the rhythm of the storm. They worked as a team, moving quickly under Tim's shouts echoing in the backdrop. Neighbors ran alongside them, hands flying, each familiar face a source of strength. It turned into a frantic dance, weaving between crops, navigating the muddy earth, all while battling the fury above. "Look at us!" Lily shouted, laughing for a moment as they steadied a tarp against the wind. "Who knew we'd end up doing this together?" Jack smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "We make a good team," he called back, the storm making his voice almost unrecognizable. But as they fought against the elements, he realized it was so much more than that. This wasn't just a team of volunteers, this was his life. And she was a part of it. The rain intensified, thundering down now, creating puddles that turned the once solid ground into a slippery maze. Jack slipped and fell hard on his backside, mud splattering everywhere. Laughter erupted from nearby neighbors, but it didn't faze Jack. He found himself laughing too, the absurdity of the moment providing a needed release. "Need a hand there?" Lily teased, extending her hand to help him up. Jack took it, feeling the electric spark of contact. "I'm just testing the new mudslide technique," he shot back, pulling her down with him as he stood. She tumbled onto him, surprised but quickly cascading into laughter again. It was that shared moment, their laughter echoing against the thunder above, that caught Jack's heart. It felt like something was breaking free inside him. The community rallied around him, their collective efforts creating makeshift barriers against the storm's advance. Jack caught sight of Tim, who was barking orders with his usual fiery resolve. Jack felt pride swell at the sight of their neighbors banded together, resilient against the tempest, yet amidst the chaos, the deeper question remained: what about everything beyond this storm? The air was thick with unspoken words, feelings that lingered silently between him and Lily. As they finally secured the last tarp, Jack's breath came quick, his heart beating wildly. With the storm eventually moving south, the clouds began to part slightly, casting a silvery light that danced on the rain-soaked earth. He turned to Lily, their faces close, and saw something in her eyes. Understanding? Or maybe a flicker of hope. "Jack," Lily began, her voice catching in the damp air. Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the sky, followed almost immediately by a loud crack of thunder. The moment felt electric, pregnant with possibilities. "What?" he asked, leaning closer, feeling his heart pound, but before she could answer, a loud scream pierced through the air. It wasn't just the storm, it was something more alarming. Their gaze turned toward the crowd, and in an instant, the world around them shifted once again. "Help!" someone shouted, fear saturating the chaos. Jack's heart dropped. What now? It seemed the storm was only the beginning, and he had to find out what lay ahead. Would their bond survive this next challenge? Jack's heart raced as he turned toward the source of the scream. Panic surged through the crowd scattered across the field, faces twisted with fear and confusion. The storm's fury had become a backdrop to another, more immediate danger. "Lily, stay close!" he yelled, instinctively reaching for her hand. Their fingers intertwined, and he felt an undeniable connection, something more powerful than the raging storm around them. They pushed through the throngs of people, their eyes scanning for the source of distress. Jack's mind raced with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Had someone been struck by lightning? Was there an accident amidst the chaos? As they moved, the community around them shifted from frantic energy to focused determination. People clustered together, united in purpose, some running to grab anything they could to help, others shouting for calm. Jack saw Tim leading a group of men toward the sound. "Get the searchlights!" Tim bellowed. "We need to find whoever's in trouble." Jack's heart pounded louder than the storm. "This way!" he shouted, pulling Lily along. The wind and rain battered them, but their shared resolve pushed them forward together. Just ahead, near a toppled fence, Jack spotted a small girl crouched in the mud, visibly trembling. Her face was streaked with dirt and tears, and she looked lost, completely alone in the chaos that surrounded her. Jack's breath hitched in his throat. "Lily, that's her," he said urgently, pointing. "We have to help her." Without waiting for a response, Jack sprinted toward the girl, his boots slipping dangerously on the slick ground. He dropped to one knee, holding out his hand. "Hey there, sweetheart. Can you come to me? It's going to be okay." The girl lifted her tear-streaked face, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. She hesitated but then made a tentative move toward him, glancing back at the frantic scene behind her. Lily caught up, kneeling beside him. "You're safe now. What's your name?" she softly asked, her voice a soothing balm against the noise of the storm. "Emma," the girl whispered, her tiny voice barely audible. "Emma," Jack echoed, offering a reassuring smile. "You're going to be all right. We're going to get you to your family." As Emma reached for their hands, something clicked inside Jack. This was more than a fleeting moment, this was a life they could save, a future they could shape right there amidst the chaos. Suddenly, a sharp crack of thunder boomed overhead, causing Emma to whimper and pull away slightly. Jack instinctively moved closer, encircling her petite shoulders with his arm, giving her the shelter and warmth she needed. "Stay with us, Emma," he encouraged. They were a triad now, one unit staunch against the storm. With Lily on his other side, they stood strong together. Just as they prepared to lead Emma back to safety, another sound broke through the cacophony, loud and unmistakable. A frantic voice calling the girl's name echoed across the field. "Emma! Where are you?" Jack's heart lifted, hope surging within him. "It's your family," he exclaimed, scanning the crowd. A woman half-soaked and frantic was rushing toward them, eyes wide with desperation. "Mom!" Emma cried out, breaking free from Jack's hold and dashing toward her mother. As they reunited in an embrace, Jack felt something shift inside him. Watching the love and relief on the mother's face, a spark ignited in him. His desire to connect, to be part of something bigger, surged again. But beneath this beautiful moment loomed the realization that something crucial was shifting in his relationship with Lily. Whatever unsaid feelings were between them were growing clearer against the backdrop of chaos. "Lily, can we talk?" Jack's voice trembled slightly, uncertainty creeping in. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of understanding and anticipation. Just then, a sharp sound split the air again. This time, it was not thunder. In the distance, a building on the farm seemed to sway ominously, teetering under the storm's assault. "Jack!" Tim called, his urgency palpable. "We need to stabilize it, or it will collapse." The community's struggle wasn't over yet, and the weight of the moment loomed large. Jack turned back to Lily, the question both of them held deep inside bubbling to the surface. There would be no easy answers as the storm continued to rage. "Wait, what if we don't make it through this?" He wondered aloud, heart pounding. They had a battle ahead of them, both against nature and their emotions. But in that very uncertainty, hope flickered like a candle in the storm. Would they find their way together, or would this moment lead them down a different path? Jack's gaze shifted back to the crumbling building, a dark silhouette against the stormy sky. Panic surged within him as he registered the danger. Was the roof going to cave in? Thoughts raced. Where were his family, his friends? "Lily!" he shouted, the urgency in his voice cutting through the chaos around him. "We need to help." Without waiting for a response, Jack sprinted toward Tim, who was rallying the others. Lily was quick to follow, her footsteps echoing his determination. The rain poured relentlessly like 1,000 needles against their skin, yet their resolve only grew firmer. As they reached Tim, Jack caught snippets of frantic instructions. "We need to brace it against that wind. Grab the support beams over there." Jack nodded, grasping the gravity of the situation. "Let us do it." He shared a determined look with Lily. They were in this together. With every second they wasted, the storm threatened to claim more lives. Jack and Lily dashed toward a nearby supply shed, pulling wooden support beams into the rain-soaked field. Together with a group of young farmers, they began to work, their bodies moving in perfect sync despite the chaos surrounding them. Jack's eyes caught Lily's as they hefted the heavy beams, both of them drenched and breathless. In that moment, with adrenaline rushing through him, he saw her strength, her unwavering spirit. It was captivating. "Over here, lift!" Tim shouted, breaking their moment as he positioned himself under some loose rafters. Jack and Lily complied immediately, the urgency igniting a fierce unity among them. They wedged the beams into place, deepening their collective strength. As the wind reached a thunderous crescendo, Jack's heart raced. He could feel the ground shake beneath them. But amidst the fear, a strange exhilaration filled him. They were fighting together against something much larger than themselves, and they weren't doing it alone. Once the first beam was in place, Tim shouted out in relief, "Good job. Now let us hold it steady. We can't let it go." Jack glanced at Lily, the determination in her eyes reassuring him. "We've got this," he shouted over the roar of the storm. Just as they began to work on securing the next beam, the building groaned ominously above them. Anxiety twisted in Jack's stomach. Would they finish in time? Suddenly, another boom of thunder rang out. The air crackled with electricity as Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. He turned toward Lily, who was focusing intently on the task at hand, but a look of uncertainty shadowed her face. "Lily," he called, concern creeping into his tone. "Are you okay?" She looked back at him, her expression a mix of strength and vulnerability. "I'm fine. I just don't want to lose this chance," she said softly. Her words struck him deep. Losing this chance every moment mattered. Jack took a breath, a wave of affection washing over him. He knew then that he had to take the leap, face the storm inside him, and speak up. "Lily, before he could finish, the building swayed dangerously, a deafening crack of wood splintering echoed. Jack's heart raced as he shielded her instinctively. "Get back!" Tim shouted, urgency lacing his voice. "Everyone move!" They scrambled to safety as parts of the roof began to give way. Jack's mind raced. Lily was beside him, and he couldn't lose her, not here, not now. They barely made it clear when the structure met a violent end, crashing down behind them, debris flying. They fell, tumbling into the mud but managing to stay close, heart thudding wildly and mud splattered across their faces. They instinctively found each other's eyes. In that moment, everything around them faded: the chaos, the storm, the danger. "Jack," she started, her breathless voice reaching him even through the din. "I'm here," he responded, grasping her hand tightly. But in the midst of their shared relief, another cry pierced the rain, a voice crying for help, echoing through the downpour. "Help! Someone please!" Jack released Lily's hand, resolve hardening once more inside him. "We have to go. Someone needs us." He locked eyes with her as a determined fire ignited between them. Together, they faced the storm, stepping forward into the unknown. Would they uncover another life at stake, or would this new challenge reveal even deeper truths about their own hearts? Jack's heart raced as he turned toward the direction of the voice. It cut through the rain and wind, filled with fear and urgency. "Stay close," he warned Lily before sprinting toward the sound, adrenaline propelling him forward. With each step, the mud clung stubbornly to his boots, slowing him down, but he couldn't stop. Not now. He wasn't sure who was calling, but he felt an undeniable pull. They had just escaped one disaster, another life needed their help. The cries grew louder, more desperate. "Help! Please!" Jack glanced back at Lily, seeing her unwavering determination mirrored in her eyes. "We'll find them," she shouted, her voice fierce above the storm. Her words gave him strength. They were in this together, they always had been. They reached the edge of the building's remains, now a chaotic jigsaw of bent metal and shattered wood. A dim flashlight flickered on the ground. Jack's pulse quickened as he spotted a figure struggling beneath a fallen beam. "Over there!" he yelled, pointing to the shadow struggling against the weight. "Help me!" They dashed forward, working together to lift the beam just enough for whoever was trapped to wriggle free. "On 3. Jack counted, clutching the wood with both hands. He felt the power of cooperation surge between them. 1, 2, 3. The beam lifted higher, and with a gasp, a young boy, perhaps no older than 10, managed to crawl out. His face was streaked with dirt and tears, but his eyes were wide with gratitude. "Thank you," he gasped, wiping mud from his eyes. "I thought I was done for." Jack felt a rush of relief. "You're safe now, buddy." Lily fell to her knees beside the boy, brushing a hand over his muddy hair. We need to get you to safety. Can you walk? The boy nodded, hesitating only for a moment before he stood, albeit shakily. Jack noticed a faint tremor in the boy's legs. He reached out to support him, giving him a reassuring smile. But just as they turned back toward the chaos, another crack of thunder roared, the wind whipping fiercely around them as if nature itself was warning them. Move! Tim shouted from a distance, urging the group to gather closer to the tree-line for shelter. Jack's gut twisted with urgency. Over here. Lily called, leading the boy along, but just as Jack turned to follow them, another cry shattered the air. It was another voice, another plea for help. Please. Help. Fear gripped Jack momentarily, frozen as he calculated their next move. They were already stretched thin, gathering strays in the storm, but the desperation in that voice wouldn't let him turn away. Lily glanced back, gauging his hesitation. Jack, we can't leave them. She insisted, determination spilling from her voice. I can't do this without you, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to do. Her gaze softened, and she stepped closer. We'll figure it out together. We always do. Jack swallowed hard, the storm heavy around them, but he felt something unfamiliar brewing, a surge of hope, mixed with courage. All right. Let us do this. They made their way toward the new sound, hearts pounding not just from fear but from an undeniable bond forming between them. With every step, Jack could feel the weight of their shared mission, the gravity of their complicity in this task, and perhaps something more. As they pushed through the debris, the cries transformed into words, clearer now. Help. I'm trapped. Please. Jack's breath hitched, every instinct screaming at him to hurry. But as they drew closer, the voice wasn't just any stranger, it belonged to someone familiar. Mom. He heard his voice shake. The ground shifted under Jack's feet. His heart dropped. Could it really be her? Jack, is that you? The voice was barely a whisper, but he recognized it instantly. In that instant, the storm faded, and all he could hear was the calling of his heart. What truths would the reunion reveal, waiting beneath the chaos of the storm? Would this be a moment of healing or another layer of unresolved pain? Mom. The word escaped Jack's lips as if it were a prayer. His heart thundered in his chest, each beat echoing the desperation of the moment. Could it be true? Was the voice he had longed for all these years really calling him from the depths of this ruin? Jack, please. She pleaded, her voice strained. He pushed through the debris, every step fueled by a mix of hope and terror. Hold on, Mom. I'm coming. The ground was uneven, littered with twisted metal and broken glass. Each piece felt like a barrier between them, but Jack was determined to dismantle it. Time seemed to slow, the storm swirling around him like a tempest of memories that he could not escape. There was a moment in all-consuming silence when everything hung in the balance. Lily stayed right by his side, her expression a mix of anxiety and unwavering support. We've got this, Jack, she encouraged, squeezing his arm as they neared the sound. Just keep going. Finally, they reached a space where the wreckage parted, revealing a figure lying on the ground, pinned but still breathing. Her hair was matted and streaked with mud, her eyes wide with fear but glowing with an unmistakable spark of recognition. Jack. Everything fell away in that moment. The storm, the fear, the struggle, nothing mattered but the two of them. Mom. I found you. He dropped to his knees beside her, tears spilling down his cheeks, mixing with the rain. She looked fragile and worn, but her presence felt like home. Get me out of here, please. She looked at him, urgency etched in her every feature. I can't hold on much longer. I'll lift it. Just a bit more. He looked around for something, anything, to help. Lily, we need to. I'm here. She chimed, her voice steady. Together, they positioned themselves, focusing all their energy on lifting the debris above her. Jack grunted, pushing with everything he had. 1, 2, 3. With a groan of effort, they managed to lift just enough for her to wriggle free. Jack slipped his arms around her, feeling the warmth of her body against the chill. "I've got you," he whispered, holding her tightly. She coughed against his shoulder, the air thick with emotion. "I thought I lost you forever." A fresh wave of rain beat down on them, washing away the dirt on their skin but not the pain etched in their hearts. "You didn't," he promised, "we're together again." As they pulled her to safety, he glanced back at the boy they had rescued earlier, who watched with wide eyes, confusion mixing with admiration. Is she your family?" he asked, his voice small. "Yes," Jack affirmed, laughter and tears mingling together. "Yes, my mom." But as they stepped away from the wreckage, Jack could see the storm hadn't relented, and in that moment, he felt the chaos of emotions weighing down around them. Beyond being reunited, there was so much left unsaid, emotions tangled within them like the fallen beams around them. "What now?" Lily asked, looking between Jack and his mother, her voice soft but firm, heavy with the weight of reality settling in. Jack looked at his mother, who was trying to catch her breath, her eyes gleaming with pride yet clouded with pain. They had found each other, but the storm wasn't just out there, it was in here too, within the memories and choices that had led them apart. We need to talk," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's so much you don't know." Lily nodded, stepping back slightly, sensing the need for space. But Jack felt the urgency swirling around them, both reflective and chaotic. "Let us find shelter," Lily urged, her eyes scanning the encroaching dark. "We can't stay out here." And as they moved with shaky steps toward a makeshift refuge, the echoes of the past began to roar in his ears, ready to spill over. Would this be a path toward healing, or would it open old wounds that had barely begun to scab over? What lay ahead twisted the very fabric of hope, inviting them into a storm of revelations yet to unfold. The wind howled, whipping at their clothes as Jack guided his mother and Lily toward an old, partially collapsed building nearby. The walls, battered by years of neglect, leaned precariously, much like Jack felt inside. His heart raced, a confusing mixture of exhilaration and dread swirling within him. Once inside, they found a small room that remained relatively sheltered from the storm. Jack helped his mother lean against the wall, the weight of the world hanging heavy on her frail shoulders. With each passing second, Jack could feel the weight of unspoken questions filling the air. "You're hurt," he noticed, taking in the way she clutched her side, a ragged breath escaping her lips. "It's nothing I can't handle," she said, forcing a smile, but Jack didn't buy it. Lily crouched down beside the young boy they rescued earlier, giving him the reassuring nod that said he wasn't alone anymore. They could all be a family, but that thought raised tough questions about what that truly meant and how they would navigate this new terrain. "Mom," Jack began, his voice trembling. "Where have you been all this time? What happened to you?" Her expression shifted, the weight of past horrors dawning upon her face. "It's a long story," she murmured, her eyes dropping to the dirt beneath her feet. "One that I need to tell you, but it may not be what you want to hear." Jack's heart sank. He glanced over at Lily. Her eyes reflected his concern and determination. "We can handle it," she encouraged quietly, and he could feel their bond strengthen with every passing moment. "I waited for you," Jack whispered, his throat tightening. "I searched everywhere." "I know," she replied softly, her voice wavering. "But I was lost, taken away, and I couldn't find my way back." The storm outside mirrored the turbulent feeling swelling inside him, a mix of anger, sadness, and that flicker of hope that refused to die. "Why didn't you try harder?" The words came out sharper than he intended. "I tried. It wasn't safe. I had to protect you from the truth from them." Her voice cracked, and Jack saw the sheen of tears threatening to fall. "There were things I couldn't tell you, things that could have hurt you too." "Like what?" The rawness of his question filled the space between them like charged air. His mother took a shaky breath, a sound that seemed to echo in the silence. Like why I left in the first place, and who I had become after. Jack clenched his fists, the anger bubbling close to the surface. You don't just vanish. You left me alone to face the world. The tears he once held back began to fall again, hot and angry across his cheeks. I thought about you every single day. Forgive me for not being the mother you deserve. I was fighting my own war. She reached for his hand, trembling but resolute. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the building, making everyone jump. They turned to see the boy poking his head into the room, eyes wide with fear. Are we safe here? Lily dropped her anger and put her arm around him, beaming strength. We're safe. This is our sanctuary for now. Jack looked back at his mother, her pain mirrored in his heart. In that moment, it was clear, this wasn't just a reunion. It was the beginning of a journey of healing, filled with more storms yet to rise. They may have found each other, but the questions hung thick in the air, casting shadows over the hope that threatened to blossom. Are you ready to share the truth, Mom? He asked, his voice steady but uncertain. Because I'm ready to hear it. As the rain lashed against the rotting walls outside, the weight of the moment settled heavily around them. What awaited them on this uncharted path? Would they find strength in vulnerability, or be consumed by the secrets of the past? Only time would reveal the answers as the storm continued its relentless roar. The storm outside raged on, a furious reminder of the chaos that had brought them together. Jack's heart pounded, not just from fear of the storm but from the weight of his mother's words. This was the moment they could either break apart again or finally begin to heal. His mother made eye contact, fear mingling with hope. Jack, I was taken, she finally confessed, her voice fragile like the walls around them. When I left, it wasn't my choice. There were people who wanted to hurt us, and I did everything I could to shield you from that. Jack could see the truth shining in her eyes, but disbelief tugged at his heart. And what about after? Why didn't you come back? Anguish clawed at his chest as he struggled to connect the pieces of a broken puzzle. I was trapped in a cycle of fear, she continued, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. I didn't know how to escape. All I could think about was keeping you safe, but every time I thought I could return, something held me back. They threatened to take you too. Mom. Jack felt the anger drain from him, replaced by sorrow. All the years spent searching felt both heavy and light in that moment. If you'd have just tried harder, I would have found you. I know, Jack. I wish things had been different, she whispered. But I want to explain everything to you, all the choices that seemed right at the time but ended up causing so much pain. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed outside, shaking the building and sending a shower of debris down around them. Jack's instincts kicked in. Everyone down. He shouted, covering Lily and the boy with his body as the roof creaked ominously. When the dust settled, it became clear, they had to move, to get to safety. We can't stay here, Jack urged, hoisting his mother up. We need to find shelter where we can really talk. Lily reached for the boy's hand, her eyes full of resolve. Let us go then. She stated firmly. With Jack guiding his mother and Lily leading the boy, they made their way carefully through the remains of the building, adrenaline surging through their veins. Once outside, Jack assessed the storm's fury. Despite the rains, the slightest hint of blue sky peeked through the clouds. Hope flickered like a beacon in the distance. They sprinted toward a barn on the property, its structure standing resilient against the storm. Inside, the atmosphere changed. It was dim, with the aroma of hay and wood filling the air. Jack urged his mother to sit on a barrel, and they all huddled in close, almost as a shield against the chaos outside. Now you can tell us everything, he insisted, holding her gaze steady. He felt Lily's warmth beside him, her presence a reminder that they were not alone. Taking a deep breath, his mother began to speak. After I left, I fell into a web of deceit. I was deceived by those I thought were friends. They manipulated me. When I finally saw a chance to escape, it was too late to come back to you. Each word was a stitch slowly weaving the fabric of their past together. Jack wrapped his arms around Lily in a quiet show of support. As the tale unfolded, he realized the pain didn't just belong to him. They all had scars, wounds that needed healing. You should let me know, he spoke gently, voice tinged with understanding. We could faced it together. I was afraid to pull you back into that world, she cried out, the weight of regret hanging heavily between them. But now I'm ready to break free from that fear. I've missed you, Jack. I've missed our bond, all these years. Tears brimmed in Jack's eyes. His heart, once encased in years of anger and resentment, began to soften. Then let us start rebuilding it now, right here. A deep sigh of relief escaped him as he spoke. Lily smiled at Jack, her spirit shining through the exhaustion. We can be a family if you'll have me, she added, her voice bursting with courage. Jack nodded, his heart swelling with a sense of belonging he had long neglected. We just have to take it step by step. It won't be easy, but we'll do it together. As they sat huddled closely, sharing hopes and fears, a powerful silence enveloped them, reflecting the calm ahead after the tempest. The storm outside began to ease, and within the dark barn, amidst the scattered debris, there was a flickering promise of transformation. Together, they would heal and face the future, one drop of rain at a time. Jack looked at the faces of those he had cared for, their expressions mirroring hope and courage. We're not just trying to survive anymore, he declared, breaking the silence. We are going to thrive. Through the windows, the gray clouds drifted slowly apart, revealing a patchwork of blue above. The storm had raged, leaving devastation in its wake, but it had also brought them together. This was the moment of change, of connection, and as they held onto each other tightly, a new journey awaited them. Don't wait any longer. You need to subscribe now to never miss out on exclusive stories like this one. Leave a like to help boost our efforts and reach others who need hope. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this emotional ending. Share this video immediately with 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't miss out.